I think it's fair to say your biggest moment of the debate was when you called for the defunding of Planned Parenthood. Here that is.
I dare Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama to watch these tapes. Watch a fully formed fetus on the table, its heart beating, its legs kicking, while someone says we have to keep it alive to harvest its brain. This is about the character of our nation. And if we will not stand up and force President Obama to veto this bill, shame on us.
First of all, do you acknowledge what every fact checker has found, that as horrific as that scene is, it was only described on the video by someone who claimed to have seen it? There is no actual footage of the incident that you just mentioned.
No, I don't accept that at all. I've seen the footage, and I find it amazing, actually, that all these supposed fact checkers in the mainstream media claim this doesn't exist. They're trying to attack the authenticity of the videotape. I haven't found a lot of people in the mainstream media who've ever watched these things. I mean, they will claim somebody watched it for them. I will continue to dare anyone who wants to continue to fund Planned Parenthood watch the videotapes. And anyone who wants to challenge me first is going to have to prove to me that they watched it.
You wanted to fund Planned Parenthood, so let's talk about what the organization actually does. 4.4 million health services involving sexual diseases and infections, 3.5 million services in family planning, 935,000 services in cancer screening and prevention, 1.1 million other women's health services, and yes, 327,000 abortions. Ms. Fiorina, I understand that you want to end all abortions, but you're also willing to cut off funding for all of those HIV tests and breast exams?
Well, of course not. All of those things are important. I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I've been engaged in programs that move aggressively into neighborhoods to make sure that all women are screened. Every single one of those women's health services that you just described are vital to be continued and actually vital to be expanded. Of course we should be funding those things. But I find it fascinating that Democrats will never support taxpayer funding, for example, for a women's health center right next door to a Planned Parenthood that would provide all those same services and also provide women an alternative to abortion. Of course, those other services must be available to any woman and every woman. But that's not what this argument is about. This argument is about whether or not we as a nation are going to stand by while taxpayer money is being used to fund this kind of butchery.
You brought up the question of taxpayer, and you say that we should defund Planned Parenthood as part of the budget battle, which we're going to get by the end of this month, even if that means that we end up with a government shutdown, regardless of who's responsible for that government shutdown. Carol Tobias, who is the president of National Right to Life, has just written a column in which he says that a shutdown would be a big mistake, that it's more important to elect a pro-life president. She writes, quote, "All of these goals are more easily and effectively achieved if the 71% of American voters opposed to a government shutdown aren't angry at the pro-life candidates running for president." Is she wrong when she says a shutdown would be a mistake?
Well, I disagree with her on this, and I'll tell you why. First, something very important has changed since the last government shutdown. What's changed is the Republican Party has historic majorities in the House, and we now control the majority in the Senate. A lot of people worked really hard out there in the nation to make that happen. I was one of them. And I think people worked hard because they expected a change based on that majority. And I do think that people want to know, what do we stand for? What does our party stand for? What do I stand for? And I will say, once again, President Obama can explain to the American people why it is so important to him to continue to fund this organization that no one denies is engaged in this kind of barbarity.